Interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to get started? Do you want to get the know-hows on creating ongoing passive income using the buy and hold strategy? Hi, I'm Janice Bowles, licensed realtor and co-founder of B Premier Ventures, a real estate development and consulting firm where we buy and beautify, renovate it, and resell for profit. With over 15 years of investing experience, B Premier has extensive knowledge in rural land development, fix and flips, and rental acquisitions. B Premier's current portfolio consists of properties within Florida and Virginia. Our firm services includes investor project consulting, project management, and group coaching. For more information, visit our website at bpremierventures.com and schedule a complimentary discovery session or subscribe to our email list. It's free. Follow me on Instagram at Janice Bowles for additional real estate investing tips. B Premier Ventures, we buy and beautify.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Let's Do It Talk Show. We are excited today. We have a couple guests in the audience and a couple guests sitting on the set with us, but they asked for it, so we're going to give it to them. So the title of today's show is The Flip Side of Divorce. So before we jump into all that, you know what I do. It's me, it's your girl, Ladrine Howard Peterson. I am the CEO and founder of Do It, delivering on ideas and thoughts. And you know what I do in a nutshell. I help to turn dreamers into doers, and I do it from two aspects. I do it from the aspect of career development, resume writing, interview preparation. I'm your girl. If you are looking to start a business, you have some ideas and thoughts but don't know exactly which way to go, you need a business plan or you need a marketing strategy, yeah, I'm your girl. I'm your girl. So y'all know how I start off the show. I talk a little bit about what I did for the weekend, right? So this weekend, it was a number of things that went on. Unfortunately, I went to a funeral, but it was for my childhood neighbor. She was 77 years when she passed away. And funny quick story about her is that I thought I was her favorite. Like, I thought I was her favorite. And everybody that got up there and told the testimony from her daughter to her grandson, granddaughter, everybody got up there and said that they were her favorite. So I didn't even get up there and say anything. But that goes to show you that one person has just that much love. And then the other thing that I did was, so on my route, I kind of took a wrong turn and ended up on Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast. Y'all know that's my old stomping grounds, right? I went to the carryout. Y'all remember the carryout across the street from Old Congress Heights? That mumbo sauce, oh my, it has not changed the same. So I actually have some pictures, so you'll actually see the pictures of that. And then later on that night, y'all remember the young guy that I had on board? It was Keyshawn Hardy. And Keyshawn, right now they're showing Kobe pictures, but we'll go back and talk about Kobe in a minute. Keyshawn Hardy, he was the young minister in training that was on our show. He actually delivered his first sermon Saturday. And when I tell y'all, it was just amazing. So y'all know he will be back on the show. And then, last but not least, on Sunday after service, I went to a brunch. And it was all you can eat. And I tell y'all how small this world is. So I ran into my childhood friend who happens to be getting ready to take ownership of it. So y'all know Lil Mike from Junkyard Band, you know, WORNLD. Yeah, so he's doing big things now into this whole seafood wholesaling and has several restaurants, but he's about to take over. In February the 2nd, he's going to have football season and a whole different everything that's going on. So if you're able to make it February 2nd, definitely want to see you in the building and in the place with that. And as you saw the Kobe Bryant pictures that were playing. So while we were at brunch, that's when we got the news, when all of the information started coming in. It was so sad, and I know it was sad for so many who loved him. So I just wanted to take a moment, pull some of my favorite pictures of him. Y'all know I'm a basketball fanatic, love basketball, so it's a loss for the fans, but we all know how strong Kobe was and how he dominated everything that he did. And also his daughter Gigi, like God bless and both of their souls. And he will want everybody to continue on, and he will want everybody to remember all of the great memories that he left us. So his dash, and her dash, even at a younger, tender age. But yeah, so big shout out to Kobe Bryant, to everything that he has done for our community. So rest in peace. So, all right, y'all. So let's do a talk show. So what we do here is we establish a platform. It started off really basically for entrepreneurs. It still is for entrepreneurs. But we don't only talk about business. We touch upon all aspects of it. So we talk about faith. We talk about finances. We talk about your future and building legacies. And then we talk about relationships, which brings us to today's show. So I'll tell y'all very quickly. Couple old friend from my job. He inboxed me, and it wasn't trash talking. He was just like he wanted to share information from a man's standpoint in terms of divorce. And I said, hey, I'm all for that, as long as you know that we have some women who are going to chime in. Y'all know how we do the women and men, and I think the score is like 1,000 women, like maybe 2 men. So we just like, we're not going to do that because we're going to overtake them. But we wanted to give the men the floor, and of course, be open to any dialogue. But we had Deetra over here, as well as myself, who know a little bit about this area. So we're going to jump in and we're going to chime. So here I'm going to let you guys self-introduce yourself, and then I will introduce our person that is on Skype.
Well, my name is Donald Thompson. I've been married for 20 years.
Okay.
So I can't really speak on divorce, but I
Okay.
can talk about relationship goals and standards that I've lived by to keep us 20 years married.
Okay, sounds good. How about you, Mr. Larry?
Larique Green, been in the Washington, D.C. area. Born and raised, been through 2 divorces. Have 2 sets of children by 2 different women, but,
So you
I can
2
give
times a pro. It's like I'm
2
playing.
times
That's
a
how
pro.
we go. I'm playing with you. I'm just warming it up a little bit, but that's how I go.
Yes.
Okay. But all right. So you the experienced man on campus.
yes.
We're gonna see how many points you can get for the fellas. Deetra.
Yes, I'm Dr. Deetra West, and I'm recently single from 24 years of marriage. So I'm glad to hear some points. I'm excited to see what you all are talking about tonight and see what I can do. Help you.
Yes, and on the line we have Andrea Stuckey, who is a divorce coach.
Wow.
So actually earlier this week I had joined her live on Instagram, and the title of her topic was, "Are you still in love with your ex?"
Wow.
And then she broke down some other things, but caught my attention. But she's no stranger to the show. She was on our show last year talking about breaking away healthy from bad relationships, or breaking away healthy. I'm not gonna say bad. I think I threw that one in there myself. But Andrea will be joining us via Skype, and we'll go into dialogue. So shall we begin this conversation, man?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Let's
so,
win this, Larry.
Let's do it.
So Larry, for you, is it okay if I call you Larry?
Yes.
Okay. So for you, my first question, in terms of all of the various things that came about in terms of you and discussing with some of your other friends in terms of divorce, what is it that you feel is so like unfair on the men's side that in terms of the laws or whatever, well, like in terms of y'all discussion, what was it that y'all felt that was so wrong?
Well, most of the time in divorce, separation with the children, the courts normally side with the mother. I don't know if it's a court thing. I don't know if it's a generational thing. But majority of the time, the court sides with the mother.
Unless the
Usually-
mother's unfit, right?
unless the mother's unfit, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, break it down. You mean in terms of like custody? Are you talking about child support? Like, break it down. Let's get into dialogue.
Most of the time it's custody, child support, everything is in favor of the woman unless the mother is deemed unfit, but is rarely that 50%. Sometimes unless if they're in the same county or if, they can be able to work out an amicable before they go in, but majority of the time, once the lawyers get involved, it's done deal.
Yeah.
It's a done deal. So the 50% goes out the window, and it's everyone for themselves.
So, do you think that it is the law or the lawyers? Because the lawyers, their job is to defend their client and to fight for their client. So, don't get me wrong, the law is the law, and then in terms of it's more of combination of things that relate to what the outcome comes. So I don't know, and I'm just saying in my opinion, I don't know if I think that it is the law that is unfair. I think the law is what it is, and then it comes into play when your lawyer makes the case in the whole spout for what information is and fighting for you in terms of how it goes. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm not up for a challenge in terms of that, but just offering like the way that I see it through my set of lens.
Well, I'd have to disagree.
Okay.
And I disagree, and let me walk you through this, because first of all, whenever the parents split up, the child automatically most of the time goes with the mother. Okay? Father usually has to find a place to live. And then in between there, they never want to take the child out of school. So now, whether the agreement is during the summer or maybe
Right.
during the winter, majority of the time that child is going to stay, with the mom because they're in school, they're in daycare. The last thing you want to do is take a child and move into another state or another area. But fortunately, I was able to get full custody of my kids. And I raised my boys for about 10 years, straight A students. One's on a full scholarship at Frostburg University.
Woo-hoo, Bobcats.
So let me ask you, in terms of your thoughts and your opinion, how you were driven towards the other side, but yet in your reality, it was the opposite side of it. So tell me, what was the situation in terms of you gaining full custody? Was it always at the beginning, as soon as you all split, your boys came with you?
No.
Or was it later? Okay.
No,
talk us
it
through
was
that.
it was later on down the line. Some legal things happened with
Okay.
her and the individual that she was dealing with, where I was able to get full custody. But during that time, as that was going on, as it was going on, I ended up getting full custody.
Okay.
But it's a work in progress. It's not something that automatically happens. It takes.
It's
When I
a
tell you, it
process.
takes time. It takes time. It takes resources, and it takes money. And if you don't have the money to play, you will not get custody. I was fortunate enough to have a lawyer who was a pit bull. So when I tell you she was a pit bull, she was a pit bull, but she knew the system. She knew how the system worked. And by her documenting things, it didn't make it easier, because even though I guess the state had given me temporary custody, I still had to fight for another year and a half to get custody. So again, that's resources. Once I got full custody, I didn't even get child support. So imagine that. I got full custody of 2 boys and didn't get child support. The judge told me I made enough. But
Take care of them.
there are some cases out there where, mothers may make 6 figures, fathers may make 40,000, and the fathers are still required to pay child support.
Wow.
So that's why I say it's a uneven, antiquated system
One-sided.
that needs to be updated. Because I know in my case, and I can name you 10 other cases right here in the state of Maryland, Prince George's County, where fathers got full custody and didn't receive child support, other men who did not get custody not only required to pay child support, but we also laugh because we call it the 1 year rule. You know, for instance, when a mother files for custody and child support, that's when your clock starts ticking.
Right.
So when I was going through my divorce, you know, even though we did live in the same house, we
Right.
lived in the same house as we're going through divorce. When we were granted our divorce, I was $5,000 in the hole. And you might ask yourself, well, how does that happen? Because even though you live in the same house, sharing bank accounts, anything that you give is a gift. So whether if you're paying electric bill, food bill, lunches, Christmas gifts, all those good, that you're still doing the same thing, even sharing bank accounts, but in the eyes of the courts,
It's a gift.
it's a gift. So, in other words, when I came out of the courthouse, I was $6,000 in the hole. So not only was I $6,000 in the hole, I had to come up with that month as well. So imagine that, right?
Right.
And I had to pay my lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you do the math. So
You did it both times with both marriages?
no,
Okay.
the other one was just an amicable split, and you know we went in and she just told the truth. You know, we're still great friends to this day, but she's like, oh no, you know, he takes care of his kids, and you know, no, I'm good.
So let me ask you a question. So with the first one, did you make a much larger amount than she did?
No, we made
Equally the same
maybe
amount.
probably about the same.
Really?
Probably about the same, yeah.
And she's the one that didn't want anything else.
Nah, she didn't.
Okay.
Nah,
No,
she,
no. I'm not talking about the one that didn't want anything
Okay.
else.
That's the first
I mean, okay. Well, I'm sorry about the numbers.
That's
I
all right.
mean the one who you didn't get child support from.
The first one.
Did you make much more money than she did?
At the time when we went back for custody, I did. But when we first started out, it was about a $10,000 difference, but I still had to pay like $1,000 a month.
Wow.
So, and I understand that, and I know you went through the process, but like I'm trying to walk through the story to get
Okay.
to the point of where you were when you went back for custody
Okay.
because of how much more that you
well,
made more than her.
When we went back for custody, I made more, but it was still 2 kids. But I was remarried. So, you
Double
know,
income.
but that doesn't count.
Right.
No, yeah. So if you go out here and, you know, I have a friend of mine, you know, his ex-wife went out and married a NHL hockey player. So, you know, they just won this championship, but you know, imagine that, and he's still giving them, you know, $1,200 a month.
Wow.
And so, and that kind of like goes into like some aspects of,
Right.
is it anything that's related to May? So that's why Andrea's topic was so perfect for, like, are you still in love with your ex? Because one of the things that I'll say, like with I don't have your numbers together, but with the wife that you were able to work everything out with, that was good. Y'all were
Right.
able to work everything out. The one who you had to go through a lot, like, was there animosity there? I'm almost like believing that there was something that caused the fight to go in that hard, because otherwise you all would have been able to work out something.
Well, again, you know, once lawyers get involved, you know, it's like, you know, you want to win.
Right,
You don't want to lose, because if you lose, you know,
You lose everything.
you lose everything.
Yeah.
right.
So you're going in with a winning mentality, and you know what? You know, kind of like, you know, every 6 months you can refile.
Right.
So every 6 months you can go back in.
Yeah.
You know, same thing. You know, even when, in other words, father gets an increase or mother gets an increase,
Right.
you're technically supposed to report that. And I know individuals that,
Yeah.
you know,
Don't.
have gone years.
Never reported.
They ain't never reporting, and then, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah.
because they don't want to go through. It's kind of like you know, playing a football game again. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt.
So how did you know that it was time for a divorce, and when number 2 came around for the divorce? Did you see the signs? or-
Yeah, you just see the signs on the wall, so you just kind of start gearing up for battle.
My
You put
Lord,
on your
help
battle armor. You kind of start seeing the signs on the wall, so either you put your track shoes on or you putting your game face on, and
Did you date for a long time after the? Oh, because you was back in another relationship
Yeah,
before
yeah,
y'all
we-
went to court with the first one. Okay, you ain't waste no time. Okay,
no, we weren't together.
How
back-
long? Well,
No, I wasn't with anyone when I was going to
Going
court.
to
No,
court.
no, no, I was by myself.
but when you went back to court
The second
for
time,
the
that was years later.
adjustments, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it was custody.
Okay.
It was custody, like
Because it was
for-
still
yeah,
a long
Yeah.
process in terms of what it went.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but I hear you and I understand and I know you went through it because you went through it.
Absolutely.
But in terms of like researching and understanding, talking to lawyers, talking to like all of the various people that went through, there is a standard law. Like a lawyer can be the beast, they can be bad, and they definitely can make an impact to it. But when you are saying like the law is like lopsided, there are women who make more than their spouses.
Absolutely.
And when that happens, it's not always that way. That's sometimes it's the flip way where the women feels that way. Sometimes if a woman in her business is so active and the man proves that she is not home that much and doesn't have time for the kids, the same scenario that you identify is then flipped. So I don't necessarily feel like it's a man woman unbalanced. It sometimes may be like the breadwinner or the person that makes the most, but it's not only about that. It's about your lifestyle and the other things, like you were able to get your kids easier in terms of custody than it was from the beginning. Because even as people are saying like unfit and some other things, when we was together, I was fit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you start picking.
Oh,
and
you unfit
then-
because
But-
they
but-
somebody else.
But what do you deem
I'm unfit
unfit?
now.
The law
law
deems
deems
unfit.
unfit.
So I'm just throwing out the term and saying like my behavior when we're immediately splitting, my behavior just didn't turn that way yesterday before you decided to file, or your behavior didn't just change that way before I decided to file. I get it where we don't want to be together anymore and we don't want to do anything, but then it's when all of the anger, and that's why I want to go to Andrea's topic. And it's not only when somebody still has feelings for somebody, but it's when you're upset and you're trying to win, and you
Emotions.
remove the whole aspect of the children. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the children and what would be the best way that your children are taken care of. So in terms of the child support and the money, like if what they're asking you, is it really going to break you? The other person is always worrying about, oh, she got this purse or he got this car, my money, their money, whatever. We all know that kids are responsible. So when you were paying child support, you were paying a healthy amount. When you got those kids and you were taking care of them, you knew that it was a healthy amount. So I hear you, and your experience is definitely your experience. And number one and number two were like totally different. But it's just that when people say that something is unfair and the law is unfair, but you have to look at and pay attention to all of the many dynamics that ball up and go into cases that are placed before a judge. And even a judge in terms of they could be having a bad day. The law is the law. They might be like rest. Rest. I don't want to hear anymore, or anything like that. So I don't know if I agree with the law.
But what do we deem unfit?
So you going back to that. So I just said that in terms of it.
Right.
My point, and we can talk about it. I'm not trying to run away from the question, but my point wasn't about unfit and deemed unfit. My point was to say, at what point does whoever you're fighting against become unfit? We were together, and then one day we were like, that's it, we can't do it anymore. Rather, it was we stayed in the house or whatever it was, but it was all of a sudden unfit. So that means that at some point in time, we were together while one of us was unfit. So that's why I was saying it's more like anger and things that come in, or either you was just with a trifling girl and you was okay with it while it
I
happened.
got a question. So you You said you were married twice and you divorced twice. So the common denominator in both relationships is you, right? What did you do wrong? I'm just asking because both of them divorced you. Did you change your ways
I
the
did.
first marriage and then
I
you
changed
had
my
blinders
ways.
on and you didn't see the second girl was gonna be a little off chain and you was gonna put out some more money? You didn't see that because you're supposed to be able to see.
I've since changed my ways.
Oh, praise
Okay.
God.
So I admit I was a problem.
You was the problem.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hold on, let me just get this straight.
So that's why she took
coming
that's
on
why
the
she took
show.
in custody.
You want me to tell you?
giving
No,
them
I
points.
definitely want you to tell the truth. I just wanna let me just chill for a minute.
This is called
No.
let's do it. Right?
Let's do
Let's
it.
do
And
it.
so we about to do it. We about to break it down. So let me tell you all. I was contacted about this topic. You know,
I
and
wanted this.
before we actually come on set, we have a little talking. You know, hi, I'm Ladrine and all of this and all of that. My brother was like, hey, let's go. And I'm like, okay.
Wait till we get on.
We have a lot. This is a serious matter. They've gone through this. So let me behave as we go through. I want to hear from the men. I didn't even bring a whole bunch of, y'all know we got my girl Posse. I didn't even bring them to bring it in. Dinky is a contributing host and this is her day. And it is me. So you mean to tell me
It was your fault.
I did all this research and you would have brought, it's like I'm playing.
see, when-
But I'm glad that you recognize it.
Absolutely.
And you
And I think the
transition.
reason why the second one took you so bad through the courts and paid all that money because she saw that the first one didn't do all that. So she said, you know what? I'm gonna get this money.
He got away with it the
know.
first time.
Yeah, he got
Let
away
me
with it. The
teach
second
him
time,
a
she was
lesson.
like, because she was there the second time when he went back for custody. So the new one
She
was
was there.
when he went back the second time for custody. So she knows she was already
She
plotting.
took notes in court and said,
This is what I'm
this
gonna
is
do.
what I'm gonna do. It's like I'm playing because I don't want to get, but this is how we do a joke. But I'm glad that you admit that it was you. But we all
Yes.
come fall short. And the whole thing in terms of now. So what's your status now?
Right now I'm divorced.
Okay. So next one, if it is the next one, you
Well,
gonna
the,
do that.
well, the next one's gonna be like, what's it called? What's that TV show called with a panel interview? America's Got Talent.
Oh, you gonna make them?
You might be okay. Oh, actually,
Mike
I got a
Paulson.
matchmaker for you in New York. She's gonna be joining in our show, so
I may be
I'll
speed
definitely
dating.
connect with you at some other time. And actually, we have men and women that come in, and some of the women are single. So who knows what may be happening? But you need to get yourself together. Make sure you good, right? I'm messing
You
with
fix
you.
yourself up. You fix yourself.
So
I'm always ready.
what I want to
Okay.
do, I want to go to Andrea, and her topic again on Instagram was, "Are you still in love with your ex?" So how it ties into this show was the point that Larry and I were discussing in terms of sometimes the divorce gets into a battle and they cannot come to a solid ground because one of them is sometimes in love with the other one, and that causes like so much money in expenses for lawyers. Like, can we just get along? Can we work this out and come up with it? We will save so much money. Slim, no, I'm playing. So we're gonna go to Andrea, who's on Skype, and we're gonna let her dive in terms of the points that she pointed out, and then we'll jump back in dialogue into discussion. Andrea, and please introduce yourself. Tell them who you are, about your lovely business that you have.
Okay, first of all, I can't see anybody, so y'all can see me.
can
I'm
see you.
Andrea M. Stuckey, as she said. I'm a divorce liberator. I'm a divorce coach, and I help serve separated and divorced women, helping them to rebuild their lives after divorce. So I, as the gentleman, also have been divorced twice.
Pro.
And I'm about 9.5 years out of my second marriage. So I was married the first time for about 5 years, second time 13 years. And so I've been in this space as a divorce coach about 4 years, formerly practicing and in business. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of piggyback on that we talked about one today, that the gentleman was talking about and Ladrine was talking about as well, is the factor of being fit. And Ladrine, you hit it on the nose because oftentimes you do hear that in that space where now somebody's unfit. They're unfit to be a parent, unfit to take care of the children. But when we were together, they were fit. So I just wanted to kind of piggyback on that. And then in addition, I have a post the live streams on Periscope. And so I get a lot of feedback from men about some of the things that the gentleman was saying in terms of child support, in terms of custody, right? And so oftentimes, Ladrine, as the emotions are involved, right? We make these assertions about the other parents. And so let me give you an example. When we talk about child support, right? Oftentimes I had a lot of men come on my live stream and say that they pay child support and the woman is spending their child support money on other things, right? And so it's interesting because when, as you were even saying, the law is the law, right? It's a numbers game pretty much, right? And so child support is generally about food, shelter, and clothing, right? Food, shelter, and clothing. And so whether it's a woman receiving child support or a man receiving child support, that is part of their income, right? So you can't say that child support is necessarily going to a woman's hair, a man's, hobbies, or whatever that may be, their nails, their traveling or whatever, unless the children are without food, without shelter, and without clothing.
Absolutely.
And as soon as I say that, the men can't say, because here's the deal. If those children are being neglected and they don't have a roof over their head, they don't have clothing, they don't have shelter, they don't have food. Now, if you really have if that is true, that they're spending their money, then you can take them back to court if you can prove that. So you can't really determine what part of a person's funds, per se, as the head of a household is child support, right? Or their actual income that they're earning and living and raises or whatever they're doing to, to support their their household. So I just wanted to maybe get some feedback from the gentleman as well with that. But a lot of times emotions are involved, is my point.
Yes.
And they don't want it, one or the other doesn't want to move on. And so they create these other sort of scapegoats or red herrings to keep things flared up in the relationship. Anybody have any feedback or want to kind of talk about that? I'm for it.
Larry, you looked at me real funny. You got something you want to say?
No.
Okay.
I never really had a problem with that.
Okay.
I mean, I do know probably countless of stories, that you all may have heard, I may have heard, but.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
It was never. I'm sorry. It was never an issue when it came to child support, taking care of the child, making sure they had shoes, clothes, shelter, things like that, school, and things were being taken care of. That was never one of the issues in any one of my.
So what was your
children.
issue again?
With the first one.
Oh no.
Well, both of them. When we're talking,
It was as far as
issue 1 or issue 2.
Okay.
Or
No, that was never an issue as far as how things were being spent.
With neither one of them.
No.
So so it wasn't an issue with how the money was being spent. You just felt that in one of them that it was a lot taken from you, and then when it was that turn, that she didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah, that was the main concern.
And although, like when you went back, you made a substantially amount more than her.
Yes.
So it was that give back. That was I paid, so you should pay, or do you think?
No, because they still play football, they still play basketball, they still play games and things like that, and they still had various other things that need to be taken care of. Yes, I was able to do that.
Okay.
But
That could have been extra money.
it's a
That's what
it's
I
a
wanted you to say.
50-50
Okay.
College
split.
funds
Okay.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
and I
set
understand.
aside.
He's in
Yeah,
college now.
Exactly.
And his mom is not paying anything for college.
No, I take care of that. So
But he's over 18, right?
well, he's 21.
So here's the
But-
thing: like, if you were paying child support, you only have to pay up until 18, right?
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying as a responsible parent who loves your child, you should want to. But by law, because that's what we were going by law, it cuts off at 18, correct?
Well,
By law.
like my dad said, you never stop playing when you're a parent. It's
Right.
always something.
And
It's
much
always
respect
something.
to your father, so I ain't even gonna say nothing. But the law.
I always say my daddy, you know, he's 67-year-old. He's a man's man. But
And
as he said,
that's the other thing.
he's
So,
a man's man.
perfectly said, and you want to model your father's behavior and being a man's man. So don't get me wrong in terms of the finances and everything, and when you look on the other side of it. But at the point of it, you were able to take care of your kids. Your
Absolutely.
kids were in a safe environment, and you knew no amount of money can compare to that.
Absolutely.
So it was like priceless. So I understand what you're saying. So I just want to jump in and kind of throw in something different, and then we'll go back at Andrea. So I have two friends. So mind you, I have a good salary, and so does two of my friends. They got the bad side of it. And one of them retired and had to go back to work to be able to support herself because of the amount of money that she was giving out. She could no longer take care of herself. The second one went through a whole different thing because her husband had a lawyer, and the lawyer, so we have the law, then we have the other denominator. Her lawyer, his lawyer did the other denominator. So she ended up getting a lawyer $70,000
Wow.
to the lawyer. I'm like, you could have took your 70, he could have took what he paid for, and y'all just put the money right there for the kid, and y'all could have worked it out. So it goes again to the point that Andrea was making. And that second thing, one of them still had feelings for the other. So it was like, I'm going to show him or her, I'm not going to say who it was, because they're not going to be happy. That's the most ridiculous thing because
Absolutely.
all of y'all
Everybody's
lose,
suffering.
even in
Everybody
terms
lose,
of the
yeah.
the kid. So I want to talk about communication with the kids. But Andrea, any other topics that you want to do? And then I want to address like communication with the kids. How do we go about this? Blended families, any other things in your experience in terms of being a pro?
Well,
what you got, 20?
What?
20 years?
20 years married, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
My beautiful wife's over there.
Yes.
Yes.
Just shout her out again.
Yes. But I mean, we have four boys.
Okay.
And we have them each level, meaning college, high school, middle school, and elementary. Yes.
Okay.
And we take very good care of our kids. We don't have a lot of tension between me and my wife when it comes to raising our boys.
Okay.
But I see that as a big problem with divorces.
Yeah.
And that causes a lot of divorces.
Yeah.
And that's what I hear a lot, especially with my fellow coworkers. I work for Verizon, so I see them when I see and talk to them. That's a big problem, especially in our community. I don't know why, but that's what it seems like.
Yeah, and I definitely can understand that. Again, I think a lot of times that it is either anger among not being able to get along. So I want to win, you want to win, or I'm
Yes.
hurt because of this, or they still in love, or whatever the reason. That normally relates to like the one that you had one where you were able to communicate, you were able to talk through things, and it worked out fine for your kids. I think a lot of times people totally
Communication.
like miss it. They're missing it. Like I know your feelings are hurt. I know you're heartbroken, but what about your kids? Your kids are witnessing these things. Your kids are saying things that go on. They're not silly. They know what's going
They know.
on. So when you talk about the impact of the kids and then watching you, very, very great point.
I said more is caught than taught,
Come on.
and that's definitely true.
Come on.
I
So-
see it every day. Yeah.
Do you want to chime in? How did it impact your boys?
As far as impacting, I'll think, you really won't know until as they get older, until maybe they're in relationships,
Can't hear.
and really by the way they treat their wives. That's how you really tell. Right now, they're still kids. My son is in college, and he's dating, but
He's not
It's-
a
it's-
kid, but I
well,
get you.
He
He's
is
a
kid.
And I know
it's-
boys take a little
my
longer to
girls,
mature,
a
but
lot
he's not a
longer.
kid.
I
But no, I get it. Yeah.
yeah. So you really don't know.
Yeah.
until they get older.
And
But
how old is your
but
other one? Okay.
He's 16,
Okay.
so he's totally different from the other one,
Right.
but very intelligent.
Right.
But he's a, more of a outspoken individual.
Okay.
But so far as I know, I mean, they're thriving. They're thriving fine.
Yeah. So how
They're
about
doing
you?
fine.
Yeah, I have two girls, 21 and 17, and my daughters, especially the oldest one, she's been through all the arguments, the fights, and, like, even when it was time for me to go, I just grabbed them up and was like, look, I think I'm just going to move out. I think that would be best. Y'all can stay here with your father. You can go with me. So, they chose to go with me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to teach my 21-year-old some responsibility. So, of course, I allowed her to pay the bills or electric bill or something like that. But this is our first time being in a apartment in over 25 years. So my kids always had a house, you know what I'm saying? So to go into an apartment, it was a lot of adjustments. So my youngest, she even asked if she can go speak to somebody. So, I said, I'm glad, I'm proud of you that you can come and say, I want to go talk to somebody outside.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And that's a big thing in our community.
yeah,
Yeah.
we shy away
Mental
from
health
it.
Yes.
and counseling.
Oh, yes,
we
absolutely.
kind of wait until we,
At the breaking
get
point.
far.
Yes,
It's like
yes.
when we need counseling. As a matter of fact, I was
Before,
having,
hold that thought, I just want Andrea to be able to chime in with the
Okay.
same question
Sorry.
that we asked. So, Andrea, how was your daughter in terms of being impacted? And I think the first one was her father, and then the second one was a stepdad.
That's correct. So I had when I left my second marriage. My oldest daughter was 16. My youngest daughter was 6, and my oldest daughter, she didn't have any. She was from my first marriage, but my second husband raised her. That's
Okay.
considered her daddy in
Okay.
her eyes.
Okay.
So the transition was very difficult for my oldest daughter because rejection, all of that stuff, teenager trying to find herself, and my youngest daughter as well because they had experienced just some tumultuousness in our relationship and tension in the household.
Yes.
I put both girls in therapy. One of and that was the best thing.
Yeah, both of my girls in therapy as well.
I absolutely did. And one of the things I recommend, and this is totally just my opinion, is that, well, this isn't my opinion. Divorce is trauma.
Yeah.
That's a fact. When you talk to any therapist, they consider divorce as trauma. And so when I talk to my clients, I always suggest that their children just be evaluated. If they're doing well, then wonderful. If they're not doing well, they'll get the attention that they need because your children are not going to tell you everything.
Right.
And oftentimes, even when they are teenagers and they've experienced some things, they may have witnessed, the negativity, and we think that they know why we left or they understand adult relationships. They don't.
Right.
Because they they're as big as us and all of that. They're very smart and all that. But they need that safe space so that they don't have to feel like they're choosing sides or, where they can be open. And, years later, one of the things I would definitely say therapy gave to my children, and then I'll let you guys take it from here, is that they are both very good at articulating their feelings and their emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe they've learned that in therapy. And that is a great skill to have as an adult, as a teenager, number one, and as an adult. Because many of us, even in our culture and generations before, we didn't have an opportunity to learn how to express our emotions in a healthy way.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then and I'll let you go next. But like in terms of my situation, so I have 2 daughters. Both of them are grown now. But I stayed with my husband until my kids got grown. And I mean, we went several years. Then we eventually moved in separate bedrooms. But Andrea said a very good point, as well as you others, in terms of therapy. So mine came from not growing up with my father in my household. So it was like, regardless of whatever, my kid's father will be in their household. So it wasn't,
do you think it was a good thing or bad?
No,
I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for various factors that are based on him and his personality. I think that if it had not been for that, he would not have been as close with my kids. My oldest daughter, that like I'm her best friend. Her father is her best friend. My youngest daughter, I can see like so many things that was shaped with her because of her father. So I had talks and I had discussions with them, and my older daughter was like, I knew what was going on. And I get it up to this point, but why didn't you leave him
Right.
at this certain
Right,
age?
right.
Like, that's when she said that she started realizing, like, wait a minute.
Your mother
And
would've
she
came
looked
to
up to me in a certain way. So she was just like, what's going on? Like, nah, you ain't doing this for us, you doing this for you.
Because
And
most
I was
people
like,
can't
no.
coexist like that, though.
Yeah, and
that's,
it was-
that's a hard situation.
It was the
Yeah.
whole thing that ties into it. When I tell you, it was a God situation for me. I did not go to therapy. So along the way, and honestly, people will be like, Ladrine, like you, and you still, and I would be like, I don't even know why. And I'm a strategist, so never, hardly am I doing anything that I don't know why. And I was praying like, God, I don't know why, but I tell y'all one thing. When he got baptized, because I used to go to church, he didn't. When he started going to church, when he got baptized and got dipped in that water and came up, I was like, God got you now. I don't got to worry about it. And that was like immediately things started transitioning. I make it into a joke, but I kid y'all not. Things started transitioning immediately. Then I was like, what are we doing here? Like, this cannot work. So it became like abruptly. And then I eventually wrote about it in a book. And it was all about forgiveness. I hadn't forgiven my father, and I was scared that like anybody that I dealt with was gonna go away. I've only
Abandonment
had
issues.
4 relationships, like even coming up from my younger ones, coming all the way up. I mean, counting my junior high school boyfriend, and it was like, oh, we're gonna work this thing out. We're gonna make it work. So I was like, Slim, you gonna make it work. You gonna make it work. So that's how it went. And I'm sorry, you were about to go into a point, so.
Oh no,
We done already went around the board and we probably forgot what it was. No, I'm like, yeah, but any other thoughts, any other comments?
I was just
from
gonna
you?
say, Andrea, my daughter came to me and asked me, Mama, you not happy when you gonna leave?
Yes. They-
So my 21-year-old asked me, she was like, you're not happy, when are you
even
gonna
if-
leave? I said, I'm staying for y'all, I want y'all to have you. My father went in the house,
Yeah.
I want y'all to have y'all father,
Yeah.
and you know, and to this day, now, so we was trying to be friendly, because I told him I wasn't in love with him, but I loved him, because he was my kid's father.
Yeah.
but what is that? What
I've been hurt so
What is-
bad, I've
What
been
is
hurt.
I'm in love with you?
Oh, okay. You
I-
go, then I'll
I'm
go
in
next.
love. I love
That's a good
him
one.
because he's my children's father, and he, you know, he was there for me for 4 or 5 years. But I'm not in love with him. Like I've been so hurt by him over the years, and it's like even recent last month I was trying, you know, during the holidays. It was our first time, you know, being without each other for the holidays, so we got together for the holidays, and he went through my phone. Got his feelings hurt, so now he don't want to be my friend. And,
What do you say?
but
Ain't
he
no
won't
fun
do
when the
for
rabbit got the
women
gun.
unless we're in a relationship. He won't do for my girls unless we in a relationship.
And that's a
That's
sad
the
thing.
emotion.
That's
the
sad.
emotion.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the emotion.
And and that becomes like a serious issue when you go. But to answer your question, what's the difference between
Yeah,
loving,
love and-
like
yeah.
I love you, I don't even know you, but with the love
you
of
with
Christ,
the
I
Lord.
can
I
love
love you with the
everybody
Lord.
with the
Right.
love of Christ.
Yes.
Like seriously, and I'm not saying that to be holier than thou or even trying to be funny. There is a love that you have for
one
individuals,
another,
but
but-
being in love, being
Intimacy.
in love, I love you in terms of even to the point of intimacy.
But don't you
and even
think
before
being
you
in
have
love is a
intimacy.
choice? Isn't that a choice?
Yeah.
Being in
It
love
is.
is a choice.
But some people, hey, you got to
But
come
I
back to
don't
the women and
choose.
men. But
Exactly.
some people can't break loose. Some people
Right,
have
right.
something
Some
that
of
they're
them
so
can't.
connected to, and they want to, but they keep on.
They can't
Going
get
back.
right.
They keep
but-
on.
They
They,
right.
they
But
have.
why not stay together for the greater good?
Why? If you're not happy.
But if
I
it's-
wasn't happy. I'm
so-
not
But it's
friends.
not about living your best life. It's
I wasn't
about
trying to live
it's
my
about
best life. I want to be happy.
the
and have
commitment
peace.
of your family.
I get that.
I mean,
that's a great topic for another show. No, for real. That's a great topic.
I mean, what's the great? What's the
I
greater?
have a problem.
What is the greater good? I mean, because I'll
The
tell
greater
you,
good is
I
my
know,
happiness.
I know.
You ever
See,
heard of happy wife, happy life?
Well, my wife's not always happy, but we manage to work things out.
But the way it looked in the audience, it looked like she got you on lock. So I think you just might be
Well,
saying.
she do got me on lock.
And so-
But I'm not always happy either. But we always
it said
come to
happy
some sort.
wife, happy, like not happy
wife.
husband.
No.
I'm playing.
Oh no.
I'm playing.
Wife ain't always
See,
happy now.
When she's happy, you're gonna be happy.
Now, let me-
that's gonna be her job.
Well, the
Her role.
household
She's
is
gonna be-
happy if the wife is happy.
Exactly my
Normally.
point.
That's the point. That she should.
Normally.
See, he want to put the normally in. There we go.
Normally.
1,002.
See, but I think we
That-
that
become
should
a
be
little-
happy
we become,
too.
I think
Yeah, he
relationship
should be
wise,
happy.
it's come a little bit kind of soft, because I'll say my grandparents went through some stuff.
Yeah.
Probably infidelity.
Did your grandmother work?
That's not.
Yes, she did.
Oh, she
She was
worked.
a teacher. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. She was a teacher.
Oh.
My grandfather worked as well. But
Yeah.
I'd probably say the shocker to me was my grandparents were married for over 50 years.
Yes.
Did he,
Let me finish.
That's a
Let me
big thing
finish.
too.
So
I have
so
to have
ask
a
my
background of
grandmother.
a marriage. I didn't have.
We
any.
talked about love,
yeah.
and she said, "Well, I didn't love my grandfather when I first met him. I met him and I married him in 2 weeks." I'm
That
like,
was a business deal.
but let me
She probably
finish.
trying
Let me
to get out the
finish.
house.
It
Let me
lasted
finish.
over 50 years.
That's over 50 years.
Yeah.
Which
But-
she fell in love with
But I
all
said,
the
well,
time.
well,
God
why
bless
did y'all
you.
get married? She's like, cause my dad told me to.
Come on,
well,
now.
that's
That's a whole.
But let me finish. Let me finish. But as she said,
1940.
Go ahead.
but-
Because you got a point here.
but at the end of the day, my grandparents were married 50 years.
They stayed together.
They stayed together. They went
Through
through
the
everything, infidelities,
Everything.
probably
But
gambling.
that was a different era.
All not
Yes,
different
Wasn't
era.
That was a different
and it
era.
wasn't as easy to get a divorce.
But it wasn't as easy to get a divorce. But at the end of the day, they left over 100 acres to their grandkids.
And that's
That's
great.
good. That's
That's
great.
great.
But do you stay? But is
So
it?
you staying
How
there
did I
for
work?
money?
But do you stay together for the greater good? Or
So
do you,
what's
What
the
happened in
greater
both
good?
of your
What about
marriages?
your what about your mental illness? Like, you know how many
What
women go crazy?
Exactly.
How many
I'm one
kids
of them.
are crazy and off the chain? We're gonna let the expert.
She's a counselor. She's a counselor. That's what she's supposed to help you all through.
Andrea, do you have any?
We hired
a counselor to help you through your
Exactly, and I love your family traditions and all that
But
y'all
that didn't work
did.
for you. You was
But,
work twice.
Again, do
Andrea.
you stay together for the
Yes.
greater good, or do you stay
I
together
just-
for?
So
Let's see what Andrea
let's see
has
what
to
Andrea
say.
got to say. Then we're gonna come back to the greater good for the last
professional.
7 minutes. Andrea, coach.
Yes.
Look, we're gonna go coach Andrea.
Matter of fact, can you ask? Is there something? What's better, love or commitment?
Intimacy.
Commitment goes with
But
love.
what-
Well,
But can
I
you?
say
One
both.
without the other.
That's not
You have to
Andrea
have-
said
you
she
should
gonna
have both.
say.
What's the greater
"Ooh,
good?
we
Love
gonna
or
have you
commitment?"
back on this show.
That's it.
He need to be with man's
Love,
business.
commitment goes with love.
That's
Now,
all
if I'm loving you with Christ,
Uh-huh.
I ain't with you, so you don't have to be committed to me. If we are in a relationship in
Right.
terms of love,
Right.
a commitment and love go hand in hand.
That's only.
But
if
can you
once
have
was
sex
just-
without commitment and love?
Somebody else can.
Okay.
Andrea,
Can you have sex without emotion? I'm asking.
No, but let her speak and then we'll come because we're gonna run out of time.
Everybody
That's
got to do their job.
No.
Okay, all
That's
right. I'm
that's
sorry.
that's another show. Lord, Andrea,
Two divorces. He talking about wrapping your job.
Andrea, you have the floor.
My God.
wow, we said so many things here. I want to just address a couple of things. Longevity in a marriage doesn't mean that it was a happy marriage. Let's just
Exactly.
be
Say
clear.
that again.
Now, I'm not saying that it wasn't or anyone's. I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm just saying in general. When we look through through time, women didn't have a lot of options, and not only in terms of economics, but economics was a big factor. The families were also larger; they had more children back then. So even if they worked, there weren't support systems in place for them to leave. And so what happened was, as the workforce changed, you just have to look at history the way it is. In the 70s, and women had some options and some support systems that could help them if they needed to leave abusive relationships. They had an opportunity to do that. The other thing I wanted to address is that, love in a relationship is not enough. And oftentimes we think it is enough,
It's not.
but it really is not.
Thank you.
Right? And we have to learn what healthy relationships are. We have to learn emotional maturity. And even, believe it or not, faith is not enough.
Yeah.
I met my second husband in church. We dated for 2.5 years. We were active participants of the faith, both saved, full of the Holy Ghost, okay? And there were things we couldn't work out. And oftentimes what happens is we all have, as we've all sort of mentioned here, our own backgrounds and challenges that we bring to the relationship.
Exactly.
And so unfortunately over time, if we don't, seek the help that we need, it doesn't mean we all need therapy, but we need to look at ourselves in the mirror. We have to understand how our past, our lineage, our experiences affect our current relationships, whether they're a marriage or even when we're dating in a relationship, right? So all these things are relative. And one of the things that happens as well, I want to address to the gentleman that has the 4 sons, when you were talking about love and all that, and I'm just, again, congratulations to you guys for hanging in there as long as you have and that you're doing well. But oftentimes, as long as
you.
children, when children, and one of the pieces too, and you guys can kind of chime in too, is that, oftentimes we're so busy with the kids that we lose our relationship, right? And so when the kids
That's important.
are grown, now these things start to manifest. Like, what, who are you? Who am I? Those kind of things. And so nurturing along the way is very important. And I see that in a lot of my clients, and that's why I wanted to address that.
That's very good points. As you know, there's never enough time in our hour, but this has been a phenomenal talk. But Andrea, can you let them know how they can contact you?
Yeah, somebody can call me myself.
Absolutely. Well, the biggest, first place you can go to my website, AndreaMStuckey.com. AndreaMStuckey.com, STUCKEY. That will take you to, all of my resources. You can schedule consultation. It'll take you to my Facebook community. I also have a private Facebook community for women only, which is DivorcedWomenUnite.com. That website will take you directly to the Facebook group. And if you want a one-on-one consultation, which is complimentary, just to see where you are, you have some questions and need direction, bit.ly/divorce liberator.
Yes, so thank you so much,
Thank you.
all. So I want to give a shout out to a couple people who are online. Sonia Prince, who is a contributing host. Neek, we need you. Neek is the matchmaker who is in New York,
There you go,
who's
Larry.
going to be chiming in and helping us doing a little something with our show. Clarence Dorsey, Elijah Gonzalez, that's the little young pastor, one of them. LaShawn Reese, Rhonda Dawson, Keyshawn Hardy, big up Keyshawn for this weekend. So many other people are on the line. Alonzo, Janice Bose. Janice is another one. Indeed. But one person said, it's definitely about your mental. What about your mental state? Mental state
Mental
is
health is
very
very
important.
Very
So again, I thank you all for joining the show. Time is winding down to the end. But be sure to put any additional comments, questions that you have in the feed. Andrea will go back. And Andrea, please make sure you put your information in the feed as well. But you all know I go through and read every single comment and provide a response. This has been a great topic. I think I need to go ahead and number this as one of the men and the women shows. And your questions that you asked, Larry, we are definitely going to bring that back up and have those as different sections because they were very good, but just didn't allow a lot of time to dive into it. So make sure that you watch all the replays from the previous shows. You can watch us from our YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Let's do it on all social medias. It's Let's Do It Talk Show. Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. And also you can connect to our website page. Normally I talk about the topic that's coming up next week. I have something on my sleeve, so I think I'm gonna change the title that I have listed here. So thank you all for joining the show.
Thank you.
Great welcome. And definitely gonna have you back again. We do have couples come back again and talk about like the good side of it as well. But we're gonna have some fun with you. We're gonna have some fun with you. But
you up.
I'm not saying like that. Some of your questions were very good. So you all, thank you so much for joining. And you know how we do. We will see you all next week.